All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about Floyd Mayweather's CEO, Leonard Ellerby, setting the record straight on something that Devin the Dream Haney said about Gervonta Tank Davis and this moolah, baby. Man, I'm telling you, people try to sell you anything. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to be in the 135-pound division, talking about a very, very fun conversation in boxing, and that is Gervonta Tank Davis, who is the big cash cow at 135 pounds, and efforts that are being made by Devin Haney, who's the undisputed champion at 135 pounds, to make a fight between them, and some of the things that he says that, honestly, I have to say are just a little bit outlandish. Floyd Mayweather Jr., CEO of Mayweather Promotions, Leonard Ellerby, clarifies and expresses his opinion about it. And it's a very educational subject. So make sure you listen and pay attention, because this may actually do you good in areas not directly related to boxing. And I've given this little bit of a lecture before, but trust me, it's worth listening to. Listen to the end. Now, before I get into that though, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, thank you so much for your support. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos, which we do on a daily basis. Also, if you are a longtime subscriber and supporter, thank you so much for your continued support for the channel. It really does mean a lot. No jokes, yo, you guys are the best, man. Best subscribers and supporters I could ask for. All right, so let's get into this. First things first, Gervonta Tank Davis and Devin Haney are both in the lightweight division, both really big name fighters in that division. Now, notice I'm saying big name fighters in that division, as in they are important fighters in that division, and they are both the focus of the rest of the fighters in that division. Vasily Lomachenko desperately, according to him, wants to fight Devin Haney to get his hands on those on all those titles that Devin has. Pretty much everybody else in the weight division wants to fight Gervonta Davis so that they can get on that really big stage that Gervonta Davis has called pay-per-view and sold out arenas. Now, Devin Haney is constantly asked about Gervonta Davis, and I have to make sure that I say it that way because I'm trying to do credit to him. He is not just willy-nilly running out there saying things. He's legitimately being asked questions about fights with Gervonta Davis. Some of the things that he says, however, are not necessarily rooted in a lot of realism. And Leonard Ellerby, who's the CEO of Mayweather Promotions, and may I say this as well, he is somebody whose experience in the sport of boxing and success in the sport of boxing should not be understated or underestimated. This man knows his boxing. He is responsible for the biggest pay-per-view shows that have taken place in the history of boxing. He has been involved in some of the biggest events the biggest events of this century, some of the biggest events in the history of boxing. It's only a handful of people in the history of boxing that can say that they've been involved in fights anywhere near the magnitude of the ones that were organized by, in large part by Leonard Ellerby. So Devin Haney was in an interview and he was asked about the fact that Gervonta Davis said that two things. One, he's asked about the fact that Gervonta Davis said that Gervonta Davis made 5 times more money than he did, right? Second thing and I'm going to approach both of these separately. The second thing that he said was that if Gervonta Davis wants to fight me, all he has to do is petition the WBA and Gervonta Mendoza to order the fight between he and I, and we can have that fight. Both of those conversations to me are real interesting. As far as the money goes, what Devin Haney said was, look, Nobody makes more money than me in boxing, can show it other than Floyd Mayweather Jr. And I guess there's a few other fighters that may make more money than me. Leonard Ellerby was asked to respond to that. And basically what he said was, look, you can take all of the purses combined from all those top welterweights and all of them. And the very last fight that Gervonta Davis had generated more money than all of those guys made combined. Now, it's going to take a little bit of parsing to understand the significance of what he said. He said Gervonta Davis's fights generated more than all of them were paid combined. So he's not actually comparing how much money at the end of it Gervonta made versus how much money Devin Haney and the rest of those guys got as far as what their purses were. And at first glance, you might say, well, what does that mean as far as how much money they made? Well, here's the thing. When you say how much money you make, how much money you generate is one thing. How much money somebody pays you off of a budget is something else. So when you talk about what Gervonta Davis has done, Gervonta Davis is actually somebody that is revenue producing. His fights, he fights on pay-per-view, he fights and he sells out arenas. That earns money. Where guys like Vasily Lomachenko, Teofimo Lopez, Devin Haney, guys like that are all fighting on budgets and they're getting a portion, right? So there's a difference between you actually generating money and earning money by selling tickets and doing all that, and then being part of a budget where you're pretty much costing the people, where you're fighting at a loss and getting paid. So if Devin Haney were to be in a situation where he wasn't on a budget, would he be generating the money and earning the type of money that Gervonta Davis is making? Not remotely, not even close to it, right? So to compare the two of these guys and how significant they are does not make a lot of sense. And however, if you actually do the numbers for the fights and you say, okay, well, what, and this is just straight mathematics. How much money does Gervonta Davis generate in a fight? He did a $5 million, he does a $5 million gate. That's public record. He did 250,000 pay-per-views at $79 a pop, which is roughly $19 million. The combination of those two are like $24 million in revenue that is generated. If he can walk out with 50% of that, he's over $10 million, which is 3 times what Devin Haney made in his last fight. Now, those are just, numbers that are out there, but you can magnify that when you start thinking about, okay, what happens if you're actually trying to make a fight between the two? Right? When you try to make a fight between the two, it makes it even more difficult because you probably under Gervonta Davis's scenario where it's on pay-per-view and it's not coming out of a budget on DAZN or coming out of a budget on ESPN, it makes it that much harder to make the fight because there's not all that money to pay Devin. Devin would probably make significantly less money in a fight with Gervonta Davis than he would against somebody fighting on ESPN where they have a larger budget to pretty much just donate the money to make the fights because it's coming out of some big pool. Now, the other thing that was said about Devin was that if Gervonta wants to fight, that he can just make it, he can just ask to be my mandatory. Mandatories have purse splits. And purse splits go to the advantage of the guy that is the champion or somebody that got a larger purse. Well, Gervonta's not taking large purses. He's getting large back-end money. He's getting the money from the gate. He's getting the money from the pay-per-view. So the majority of his money is not going to actually be calculated in the purse. And even if it was, why would he negotiate with somebody for somewhere where he could wind up with a 60-40 split with a guy that does not generate anywhere near the revenue or the amount of fan interest that he does? He's not going to do that as a mandatory. And requesting him to do a mandatory is just asking him to be stupid, which more than likely he's not going to be. And Leonard Ellerby was very clear in pointing that out. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. And that's just business talk. That's not personal against one person or the other. It's just straight up business and how, dollars and cents operate. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.